important time for the club. We are literally faced with the moment that is going to be our worst crowd, probably that we've had in the history of the club, with our worst performance. And so we are in a really bad situation this year. So I wanted to come and have a chat to you all, talk to you all honestly and openly, allow you to ask questions, let you know where the club is at the moment, and what has been happening over the last few weeks in particular, and where we're going moving forward with some stuff. So I really do want to have that opportunity to just sit down and be open and honest and talk to you all. I have plenty of people tell me that I shouldn't do this, I don't need to do this, whether it's staff or colleagues, and that's not my, that's not how I go about things. So I really do want to speak to everyone and really have that conversation. I've never hidden it from anyone. I've never, shirked from that part of my role at the club. And of course, social media has been really brutal. It's been honest. It's been very personal at times. So I think it's really important to have this conversation with everyone. And I've got some notes, but they're only notes, so I don't have any sort of pre-scripted. I just want to make sure I get through all the points that's there. And then once I finish going through, we'll ask some questions. I'll get Dan to walk the crowd, and then I'll point to Dan. So if once I'm finished, if you've got any questions, we'll get Dan to ask it. I'll stay here as long as we can and get through everything that's there. So at the end of the day, regardless of what I say tonight, regardless of what the result is tonight, there's got to be continual tough times for us in the short term. There's no period that's got to change this until we get it fixed and get it right. So for me, it's really just like what happened with Josh Rose. I've met with Josh and I've spoken with Josh, and I'm prepared to do that with 7,000 members if I need to. So every one of you, I'll sit down, I'll have a coffee, I'll have a chat, and come into the office, and I'm prepared to answer everything and make sure that all our members know exactly the current situation of the club and what's ahead of us, because there are a lot of questions and there's a lot of things being asked of us at the moment. But I'm here to give you a club update, because you deserve to know. You deserve to know what the plans are and what's been happening. So internally, we've gone through lots of changes in the last couple of weeks. It has been not public, a lot of the changes that have happened, but it's been pretty strong on the inside. So 3 or 4 weeks ago, we made an announcement that we've got a working board and some new board members. So I want to let you know who those board members are, why that change happened, and what does that actually mean for the club. So the 2 new board members is Cameron Khan and a guy called Anton Tagliaferro. Cameron Khan comes onto the board. He's based in San Diego. He's not a football guy, and he admits he's not a football guy, but he's a numbers guy, he's a financial guy. He works for Accenture and is very, very astute in data and management like that. So his role on the board is to make sure that the finances of the club keep projecting into a positive way, and that is all done very, very properly. And he was the first person to straight away say the biggest challenge we've got at this club is we don't have enough money and enough resources to keep pace and to keep going. So he's very, very focused and very determined to make sure that this club has more resources moving forward, and he's got to throw all his expertise into that. The other board member is Anton Tagliaferro, who some of you would have heard by now and possibly seen. Some of you might have had the chance to have met Anton as well. Anton is an investment banker. He's a CEO of a company called IML in Sydney. He's been long time in the game of football. In fact, probably 6-7 years ago, he was touted as a potential chairman for the FFA. That was there. Anton has been with the club for a bit over a year. He has been investing some money into the club, and he's very passionate about the club, and he wants to make a genuine difference. Anton is a football person that comes onto the board, and he's really very, very hands-on. He's been in the office 2 or 3 times a week that's there, and we speak to him daily that's there. The reason this is important is because it changes the structure and the dynamic about how the major decisions are made at the club. Previously, Mike Charlesworth, 100% owner, and he still is 100% owner, but he's now got a couple board members who are financial, who are injecting money into the club and looking to support it. So he's got more expertise around him rather than just relying on myself for any discussions or any topics that move forward. So that's a key change for us, and already we've seen the board has made some changes to the club straight away. And some of you may have heard, you might have known her, but our former director in Catherine Duncan, who was our CFO, is no longer with us, and that's been one of the first moves from the board in changing the club and getting us to move forward. But what am I really here to say, what I'm really here to talk about? In essence, the club has been put on notice. Every staff member, every coach, and every player. We've all been put on notice in regards to what we need to do moving forward and where things go from here. We all know, and the board knows, that every department doesn't have the resources that the other clubs do, and that is the reality that we've got right now. And if I can give some examples and some insight as what does that actually mean, it's not just about how much money we spend on the players on the pitch, but it happens for every aspect that goes in and around it. So where we are today is we don't have a full video analysis person as a full-time employee at the club. And it seems such a simple thing, but it's an investment and it's money that comes into it. The other clubs, Sydney, Melbourne, Wanderers, they have 5 or 6 video analysis people that are here. We're about to recruit one for the back end of this season, and we're budgeting for that to happen into next season. But you can simply do the math on 4 or 5 full-time staff members in that sort of a role, what sort of level that is, and that's just one single department. So that happens across the board for us, and that's the challenges that we're faced with. So as the board want to move forward as we get into the off-season and look at next season, they're throwing that caution and that challenge out to all the staff that we are on notice, because they want to know that when this club does have more resources coming in, that it's got the right people here in the club to take it forward that's there. So there is a lot of pressure, whether it's Mike Mulvey or myself or any of the players or any of the staff. It is really an important time for us. And so now for all of us, it's a time to show that we can earn the right to call ourselves a Mariner for everyone who works in the club and has to do what we need to do. We all know that we're custodians and we are here to leave the club at some stage in a better place than what we came, and that's really important. But right now, for the next 7 games that we have and for the remainder of the season, that is absolutely vital that every person in the organisation understands the challenge that is ahead of us, because after the season, that's when the microscope will be cast aside as to what have we done, are we capable, and can we move it forward. The club over the last 4 years has grown, and it's grown significantly in normal metrics for any organisation. We're just under a $6 million business, and we're now just turning over $7 million. Unfortunately, that growth, whilst might be significant on our reflection, is nowhere near as big as the growth that the other clubs are experiencing. So we need to accelerate that. We need to find ways to do that. The board is very active and looking at all options that come ahead. So unfortunately, it's not enough and it's not fast enough for us. One of the major focuses where the board is looking to invest is into our recruitment strategies and our recruitment capabilities. Scouting networks, whether it's overseas or local, staff members that are available with the expertise and the knowledge on the recruitment becomes really, really important. Previously, we've totally relied on the recruitment skill set of the head coach. Whether it's from day dot, that's where it's all been. So all the recruitment and the pressure has been on the head coach. And so I wanted to also talk through the structure of where the club is, where it started at the season and where it is now. Through the off-season last year, we made the change to appoint a sporting director, and we went on a search to find a sporting director to bring the level of football knowledge into that spot. So Mike Mulvey reports through to Mike Phelan, who reports through to Mike Charlesworth, was where we started with the season. And Mike Phelan started from a bottoms-up approach, working with our academy and what the club looks like from all football principles moving forward. Halfway through the season, without anyone's expectation, he was called back to Manchester United, and he's gone on a very good run for anyone who's been paying attention to the fantastic work that he's done over there. He's still extremely committed to the club, and I literally have spoken to him a couple of hours before he played Paris Saint-Germain the other day, and a couple of hours afterwards. And he speaks to Mike Mulvey consistently, that's there, but he's not here right now, and we understand that that is a challenge for us. The expectation when he first took the role was that it would be a short-term gig, but we don't know how long that's going to be. Michael Phelan will be here in 2 weeks' time, and he wants to review the entire structure that's been put in place and what does that look like moving forward, and in particular the recruitment practices of the club and our resources in our recruitment skill set is of top priority for him. And so a couple of weeks ago, also what happened is my role had shifted back to many aspects. I have started in this role not in the football decision-making framework. My role is to support it, make sure the business is operating, but it continually defaults back to my role when there's a gap. So when Peter Story moved on, it's a defaulted back, and as Mike Phelan has moved on, the last couple of weeks, it has defaulted back to myself to be more involved in the football decision-making processes. What does that mean? So for me personally, I was very passionate about making sure our first team came back to the centre of excellence for training and reconnected with the club. I've been totally training over at Plume Park, which is great because the pitches and the facility there is fantastic, and it's also a great relationship builder with Central Coast Football, but they were disconnected from the rest of the club, from our A-League team to our youth teams coming through that's there. So now we're I put out the challenge to them, and then now 2 days a week, the start of every week, they've got training sessions back at the COE, and they still will train at Flume to make sure they still get the training sessions they need. And that's one of the decisions that I've personally been very passionate to drive and moving forward. And the other one for me is about the discipline in the club and the discipline through our football department. We've all seen the recent media around some players that's there, and some players that are currently serving some suspensions, and a show cause notice has been issued to some of them for them. And we've got to make sure that we do not accept that as a club moving forward, and we have to be better. There's no hiding from any of that. There's a lot of talk about Charlesworth out and wanting to see Mike Charlesworth, sell the club and move on to the club. And I appreciate, and he understands why that is. Because we talk about resources and revenues and the capacity of the club to deliver, and Mike doesn't have the capacity to deliver to the level that we need to keep up. He's been open and honest with that, but what I can say is he's keeping this club afloat, and he's keeping this club here on the Central Coast. All our bills are up to speed, all our players are getting paid, and all the operations of the club are moving with adequate resources to survive. But we're in that survival mode. And so he understands why there is so much pressure for it. But the other reality is that the offers that have came, A, have been very small offers trying to get a fire sale on the licence, and B, none of them have committed to keep the franchise here on the Central Coast. So straight away, Mike Charlesworth is not looking at any option where he looks to sell to somewhere else. However, there is that risk. If someone threw an immense amount of money to go and purchase the licence and relocate the club, we are faced with that very scenario. And he's not looking at that right now, and we don't want him to look at that right now. Some of you may have seen the media that came out today in regards to the stadium and the council and the FFA's conversation with the council, which happened a few weeks ago. What has come out is that the FFA have clearly said if Mike Charlesworth doesn't maintain the Central Coast Mariners on the Central Coast, they are not going to blindly and 100% commit for this club to stay on the coast. What they've said to council is they will make sure that happens if there's good support and connection with council, and we're working very hard with them. One of those options is management rights. We are passionate about it, and we've spoken about it because we do believe that is one indicator that's there. But the FFA have said, let's make sure that there is a good venue strategy for the Central Coast Mariners, and then they will make sure that the Central Coast Mariners always stays on the Central Coast. It's a conversation that's very live and it's very raw, but it is a very real one right now, because we don't want to be in a position that someone offers $20 million to Mike Charlesworth, an offer that he can't refuse, and the next thing we find that we are packing up and relocating and changing. That's for me, my biggest passion and my biggest pride is my job is to make sure that we stay anchored here on the coast, and we've got that opportunity. I'm extremely passionate that what we offer football in this country is something that no other club or region can offer, and we are the #1 code from under 6 all the way through to the elite level here on the Central Coast. No other region offers that, and some people say, well, we're a small town, we can't keep up with everything, and I appreciate the realities to that, but we are the size of Iceland, and if Iceland can make the World Cup, then so can we in regards to the A-League terms, and I'm very passionate about that and really driven to make sure that we deliver that. We also have a distinct advantage, is that we have the strongest level of football knowledge per head capita than any other part of the country. What the Central Coast Mariners has delivered over the last 13, 14 years that we've been here is that the players that come with a lot of football knowledge, a lot of them like to stay here, and a lot of them want to keep working and operating in football. That means that our kids can engage with Josh Rose or Dan Barrett's or Patrick Svonsvik's, the list goes on and on, Adam Kwasniks, Nick Montgomery's, that are all there working in this space, and that will continue to grow, and that will continue to be something very important for this club for the long term that's here. So I really did want to talk about some of those moments and address those. I wanted to be open and honest. I'll give you the team lineup so that you've got that, because that's about to be announced, and I don't want anyone to miss out. It's probably just gone out to some people. So Ben Kennedy's in at goalkeeper, Jack Clisby at left back, Jonathan Aspro-Potamides at centre back, Sam Graham centre back, Jacob Milling at right back, Joshua Nisbet makes his starting debut for us in the midfield alongside Jem Carrigan, Matt Miller on the right wing, Mike McGlinchey in the attacking midfield role, Stephen Mallon on the left wing, and Jordan Murray up there at striker. And what's really exciting is our bench. It is the reason that I'm excited about today's game. We have Joe Gauchi in there as our secondary keeper, Mario Chabau, Charles Mombai gets to hopefully get his debut, Michael Glassick hopefully gets to get his debut, and possibly Lewis Miller may get to see his debut. And there are names there that are really important to this club and for the future for us. They've come through our system. Michael Glassick has been with the club for 10 years and is faced with a very daunting prospect in his career right now as the system starts to cut players off from the NPL to the A-League. So they very quickly has to make a big jump, and it's a very important part of our game that's there. So I think that's most of the parts from my notes. Definitely want to talk about the recruitment, player signings. There's no holds barred. Please ask your questions as you like. I'll get Dan to come around and feel free to put your hand up, and I'll stay here as long as it takes. Also, I think Carly Carmichael will be floating around. She'll have some tickets. If you want to get a drink that's on me, she'll give you a little docket and you'll go get a drink, and that'll be on me. So, there we go. We've got Gabby and Chloe who'll do that. So they'll work the crowd, and please grab a ticket and grab a drink while we're here and we go through it. So I'm going to pass to you, Dan, to
questions, guys. Anyone got a question? Yep.
Just wondering where Connor Payne is today.
So Connor Payne hasn't been announced in the playing squad. Andrew Hill's here today. I haven't physically seen him for Connor Payne. So to be honest, I actually don't know if he's here or if he's not. So there we go. So Connor Payne's here. So he's here with all the non-playing players.
But is he injured, Connor Payne? Is that why he's not in the squad?
No, Connor Payne has not been selected. Why? Yeah, so the question is, the head coach has made the decision that he's looking for a positive attitude and give the young guys a go, and that is exactly why. So Connor met with Mike Mulvey 2 days ago, had a one-on-one meeting with him, and that's exactly there, and he said to him, keep working hard, and there's every opportunity for Connor to be back on the pitch and in the starting lineup.
Many stage of life just come down some offers for the minors. What are those offers for? Are they for the team? Are they for the whole Fox and Dice, the Centre of Excellence, the complex up at Tuggerah? Or is he just selling the team?
Yeah, so the two offers that I know were for around about the $8 to $9 million mark, and that was just for the football team, nothing to do with the Centre of Excellence or anything else. So it was literally just for the licence.
I thought that might be the answer, because my own personal feelings have been for a long time that Mike would be happy to sell the team, because I think that's his Achilles heel. He has the Mariners Centre of Excellence, he's looking for the stadium, bricks and mortar and business is Mike's domain, and if he got rid of the Mariners team, he wouldn't have a problem, because all the other areas would be making lots of money.
Well, that's correct, and so the club does lose money, and where that money comes from is from Mike, whether it's from the revenue that comes from the development in regards to rent from Soccer Fives or rent from YMCA that comes through. It's not a lot of money, but it contributes and definitely helps with cash flow for the organisation.
Thanks, Mr. Mulvey, for your previous remarks. I've been a member of Ho some 10 years now, and this club seems to get good players here, and all of a sudden we've gone elsewhere and we've become stars. You know, I mean, why can't we hang on to some of these good players, Savio there and all these guys, go down to Melbourne and actually Melbourne and that, and we just seem to let them go. Second one is,
Okay, how are you?
in my opinion,
I was trying to record it so I can upload it to YouTube.
unsatisfactory captain of this club, because he does not set a good
I was trying to get
example
a
on the
ticket for a
field.
free beer,
2
but he
weeks
seems to
ago,
have wandered off.
we let him go with Arnold down Sydney before, and yet we take him back, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah, so I suppose football is a game of opinions, and that's from Matty Simon. For those who know him off the field, he's a real ambassador for our region. He's a local, and definitely I have a lot of respect for Matty. He was extremely apologetic immediately from from his actions. He was extremely frustrated, that was there. From him, within the first 30 seconds of coming onto the field, the referee had told him, don't dive today, in front of Brisbane Roar players. So the Brisbane Roar players knew that, and definitely, he doesn't condone his actions, and the club doesn't condone his actions, because he didn't handle that moment well at all. The week before, there was a big Fox push about how good he was as a person, and he was someone who was brought to the club to be a leader, and that's a challenge just like everybody else has faced, where everybody's been put on notice. And in regards to the first question about player retention, it is a real challenge for the club. There are very different stories and journeys for every player that comes and leaves, and everyone's got a story that comes through. Right now, the biggest challenge that we face is the relationship with player agents, and one player agent in particular who was formerly the head coach's player agent, who is no longer the head coach's player agent. That player agent has got 9 players in our current squad that's there. That player agent has told the club that he's looking to take players away from the club, and that is a big challenge for us. In that some stories are about simply that the offers from the other clubs become extremely expensive, and they can get a lot more money elsewhere, and we don't want to stop any person from achieving their dreams that's there, and we do operate from a very tight budget, and we do what we can with that. So that is some of the scenarios. Some of the players aren't happy with the amount of facilities and offerings that we give them for them as an athlete, and when they look at clubs like Melbourne City, who have all the resources in the world for their own career, they are the realities. I can't sit here and deny any of that. All I can say is it's about really working hard for us to keep catching up, and to make sure that we've got as many players as we can that will play for the badge.
My question is about not about football, but it's about letting the people who belong to the race club come into our games actually for nothing, and it could be that a lot of members might think, well, I'll go and join the race club for $50, and then I'll get a season ticket into the Mariners game. So I hope you're not going to do it next year, because you're saying money's tight, you need all the money you can get. Well, that's costing you money. If people do decide, I won't, but if people do decide it's better to go up to the race club, $50, they've got a season ticket. So I hope you're not going to do that next year.
No, and I very much appreciate that sentiment, and we're very aware of that. For the race club, it was about forming a relationship. They had just on 850 members who weren't part of this, and they don't have a membership. They do have access to come to our games. The numbers, and Dan will check in with us, the numbers are very small as to how many are taking that up. And there is a limit on the amount that they can sell, and there is absolutely no guarantees that is something moving forward. It was a promotion that we're looking to do to see how many more bums on seats that we can get coming into our game, and that's something that we thought was very important that we had a crack at. So, yeah.
Yeah, my question is more